Hey everyone, I know you guys, most of you are not at the stage of making bread yet, but because I happened to be making a loaf, I figured, what the heck, I'll just do it live. That way, when it comes to time for you to do this, you'll have this video you can look back on. It's not gonna be like super instructional, but just figured I would show you the process. And really, I just want you guys to see that it's not as hard as it sounds or it looks, because when I first started, or before I started, I was trying to read all these recipes and just felt really overwhelmed by it. And there just seemed to be so many steps. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is just gonna take up my day. And it just seemed so hard to me until I finally did it. So I just wanna show you how simple it is. Here's my starter. She, let's see, this morning, so here's the thing, I should have fed it last night and I didn't. Kind of a mixture of being lazy and tired, and remembered like at the last minute right as I was going to bed, and I was like, forget it, I'll just do it in the morning. So I didn't actually feed this until 8 a.m. So I discarded some, I think, and then I fed it at 8 in the morning. It was right around where this rubber band is. And now at 11:30, almost noon, it's almost at the top of the jar. So it has come up a lot. It's very bubbly, as you can see on the sides. And so I'm going to take a portion of this to make my bread with. And to make the bread dough, it's really simple. It's gonna be just your sourdough starter with some water. You're also going to need more flour, of course, and some salt. And that is it. So let's do this. Here's my recipe. What I do is get my scale on, grab the bowl and zero it out. And then I'm gonna put in 90 grams of my starter. Now it doesn't have to be exact. Like if you're 92 or even like 98, I'm like, that's good. You know, even if it's a tiny bit less. Just something around there. You're not gonna screw it up. I know that's what a lot of people think, like, oh, I can't start because I'm gonna mess up, or I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't know how to make fancy, pretty breads. Well, guess what? I still don't really know what I'm doing with that. Like, scoring the bread at the end is the worst thing I know how to do. Like, I just don't do it very well. Sometimes they turn out pretty, and a lot of times I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just cutting into it. So the thing is with sourdough is to just get started and don't be scared of it. Don't be overwhelmed. So I'm at 94 grams of the starter. So now I'm gonna put my water in. Actually, what I did was I heated up some water slightly. I mean, this is like ever so slightly. See, it's not even that hot like that I can touch it. So I like to have my water slightly warm. It does not have to be. Sometimes I put straight up cold water in here and it mixes it together. So I'm gonna zero out my scale because now I'm gonna add my water, and I always forget how much water. 385 grams of water. And again, if it's not perfectly exact, it's okay. It all works out. So that's 390. That's perfect. And I have this tool that I like to use. However, you don't need it. You can use a regular whisk or whatever, or just a spatula. You can even just use your hands to mix it up. But I got this on Amazon, I think. It's just like a sourdough whisk. So see how it's a little different. Now, normally when I'm feeding this and mixing this, I don't put any metal in here. I don't know if I shared that with you guys. I try to only use like rubber or silicone and wood, basically, when I'm stirring things. Try not to use metal. There's something about that can kind of react with your starter. So just try not to do it. Like I'll take a metal spoon sometimes and feed the flour into it, but I just don't stick the metal device in there and mix it in, okay? But once you're making the bread, like this is fine. So I'm gonna take it off the scale. Oops. Mix this together. So I want you guys to kind of see, I don't know if you can see what it looks like. It's very, oh, I just spilled some out. It's a very weird texture. It looks kind of soupy and gross at first. I'm actually gonna replace the splash of that water that I lost. that wasn't much. There we go. I find that it mixes well, or it mixes better when you have your water a little bit warm, or even just room temp water. But again, it doesn't have to be. Now it's changed colors and it looks more white. So see how it's already mixing pretty well. Now this doesn't have to be mixed perfectly. You're still gonna have some chunks in here. It's totally fine. But as you can see now, when I lift up the whisk, there's nothing sticking to it. So that means it's pretty well mixed and we're good to go. So the next thing I'm gonna do is weigh my salt and my flour. And yes, you wanna weigh everything. Use a kitchen scale. These, if you don't have one, just go buy one. Amazon has them for probably $10 to $20, and they're gonna be really helpful for your sourdough journey. So I'm gonna zero out a new bowl, and we're gonna do 520 grams of flour. Actually, I was gonna use bread flour. So here's the thing. Some of my recipes, sometimes I do bread flour, sometimes I just do all-purpose flour, sometimes I do a mix of both. I'm out of my big bags of bread flour, but I happen to have this weird small bag sitting around, so I'm trying to use it up. So I'm gonna use this up first and then add more all-purpose as needed. Now, when you're looking at recipes online, some of them call specifically for bread flour or specifically for all-purpose. You know, I try to go by what the recipe says because it's probably created in a way that was made for that type of bread. Your bread flour is gonna have more protein structure to it. We're at 480, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of the all-purpose into here. There we go, 522. And now I'm going to weigh out my salt. Forgot to get a little container for that. So this is really easy. And you know, I should have mixed this bread this morning. I should have mixed it maybe last night, made this dough. But here I am at almost noon and I'm just getting around to making the dough. So it's gonna be a late baking, but I'm okay with that because I know I'm gonna be up kind of late tonight. And I put 12 grams of salt, and I'm gonna put that, just get this out of the way, in here. And I like to mix the salt into the flour before I mix it with the starter and water. Just to kind of incorporate that all so it's uniform, not just like one pile of salt in the middle. Okay. And I'm a messy baker, so I probably have a mess all over the counter here, but that's okay. So now all I'm gonna do is mix this starter and water mixture into my flour and salt. And that's how you make your bread dough. And do a little bit at a time. And then mix it with this. Now, this dough is gonna look really weird to you. You're gonna think, oh no, it's not mixed. I'm gonna need more water, this looks bad, or I'm gonna need more flour. Don't mess with it. It's supposed to look weird. It's gonna look lumpy. It's gonna look, actually what we call shaggy is the texture that you're looking for. So after this is all mixed up, I'm just gonna cover it with a damp towel and let it sit on my counter. I am gonna perform some stretch and folds. So I'm gonna let it sit for 15 minutes after this. And after 15 minutes, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna kind of start to stretch the dough a little bit. Set the timer for another 15 minutes. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it like 3 times. Now you could do it anywhere from like 2 to 4 times, doesn't really matter. Whatever you have time for. And after that couple sets of stretch and folds, you're gonna cover it again, and it's just gonna sit on your counter for at least 8 hours. So it's real easy. So I'll be baking my bread, you know, before bedtime, which is fine. Probably the time Ruby goes up to go to sleep is when I will have my bread in the oven, or at least have my ovens turned on and preheating. And then I'll just probably take it out right before I go to bed. It'll cool on the counter overnight like my loaf did from yesterday. Just a little bit behind today on things, but that's okay. And so I want you guys to see what this started to look like. It just takes like a couple minutes to mix it up. A lot of my flour is kind of stuck to the bottom, so a little bit messy here, but it's gonna seem sticky. If it's too sticky and wet, you might want to add a touch of flour, but usually I don't mess with it. Like usually it's fine. You just want it to kind of stick in a whole ball. As you can see, it's starting to stick together. If I went to scoop it up, it would all kind of stay together, and that's what you want. So I'm just gonna wipe this off, cover up my bowl. I have to wash my hands, but I'll do that in a second. We're gonna set the timer and let it sit. And then what I'm gonna do next, since I've taken out stuff from my jar, I'm gonna refeed it. And so I'm gonna refeed this 50 grams of flour, 50 grams of water, just like you guys are doing with your starters, once you start them. And then I'm gonna make sure the flour is all hydrated. Then I'm gonna cover it up. I have a little cloth napkin I'm using right now, so it can breathe. You could just put a lid on top, like a loose lid that's not screwed on. That works just fine too. But I like to cover it with this because I feel like it breathes really well. You could leave this on your counter. After I feed it, I'm going to actually just put it in the fridge because I'm not going to be using it for a little while. So that's what I do. If you're someone that's baking every single day, you might leave this on your counter every single day, but you could totally put it in the fridge between feedings. So I'm gonna hop off of here, and hopefully this was helpful just to show you it's really not that big of a process. Yeah, it's a process. Yeah, it's a lifestyle, but it doesn't have to be something you're doing every day. It doesn't have to take over your life, and it can fit into your own schedule. Most of the times I'm mixing this dough at night. Right after dinner is usually when I start mixing my dough, and I get all the stretch and folds done before bedtime, or maybe around the time that my daughter goes to bed. I'm working on the stretch and folds for that hour, and then it just sits. And then the next morning it's ready, and I do one more stretch and fold, and then I shape it into the form that I want it. So when I go to bake it, and after I've shaped it, I put it in a bowl like this. You don't have to have a fancy bowl like this. It's called a banneton. You could order them online, but you could just use your own kitchen bowl. And then it goes in the fridge for an hour, and then I'm baking it. So and still, even with this video, it still might sound like a lot to you, but once you get used to the process, you can bake the bread whenever works for you, whether it's baking it at night like I'm doing today, baking it in the morning, baking it midday, it doesn't matter. And once you put it in the fridge, like say I pop this in the fridge, you know, before baking it, and then I realize I don't have time to bake it now. No problem. You can let this sit in the fridge for, you know, a day or two if you want. The longer you let it sit, the more sour it'll get. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I just want you to get started. Make your starter. All you need is your jar, your flour, and your water, okay? You're gonna mix it together, equal parts. So do 50 grams flour, 50 grams of water. Pay attention with your flours. I like to do something that's, you know, 100%, if possible, organic, but non-enriched and not bleached. So this one is 100% organic hard red wheat. My other one that I often use, it says on it 100% hard red wheat and 100% barley. So those are the ones I tend to use. You don't want to use your typical all-purpose bleached enriched flour, okay? If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments. I would be happy to help you guys. Bye.